Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Bayou Bets. This one for a Monday, March the 20th. I'm Jim Derry, along with my friend Spencer Urquhart, and Zach Ewing isn't here. I think we'll be all right, Spence. What do you think? We'll make it? You think we'll be all right?
I think we'll survive. Yeah,
Yeah.
Zach. He had his fun in Las Vegas again, so we'll hold it down for him.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of stuff going on. He's just a traveling man. You know, he wins the survival pool. He's doing his thing. He's having a good old time. We're going to have fun today without him. We're going to talk a little bit about all kinds of stuff in our headlines today. Not a single perfect bracket remaining. That's
surprise,
right.
Surprise.
Of all the millions of brackets done across the country, there isn't a single perfect bracket remaining. And you know why? Part of it is because the 9th-seeded Florida Atlantic Owls and the number 15 Princeton Tigers are still alive. So we're going to talk about March Madness a little bit. We're going to talk about the Detroit Lions signing CJ Gardner-Johnson, CD Deuce, to a one-year contract. Oh, my. Third team in 7 months he's going to be with. So there's a reason why he didn't work out so well, maybe for the Saints and obviously for the Eagles as well. And then the Saints holding steady as the NFC South favorite. We're going to talk about the Saints coming up, and then we'll have our rants to finish off the show. So we're going to have a little fun. Before we get to all that, we got to tell you about our LSU poster set giveaway. Bet $10, receive a commemorative poster set at Caesars Sportsbook. Bet.NOLA.com. That's what we're doing for you. But we've told you about this already. You can get into the fun and win some money. Have some posters. I don't know about you, Spence. Did you win any money this weekend?
I didn't bet too much this weekend. I bet on the first round. My Raging Cajuns helped me out, and Creighton. I bet on Creighton.
Yeah.
They pulled through for me. So I know we'll get to the upcoming matchups here soon. That's one I like. Just a little teaser for y'all there. But yeah,
I would have had a great weekend had it not been for that GD 3-point heave with 0.7 seconds last night. We're going to talk about that one in a minute, but that one hurt. For anybody that had Gonzaga minus 4.5, whether you had it for $1, whether you had it for $20, or whether you like me, I had it across 3 different betting platforms. Okay, I was like, this is my short thing of the day. It would have been a short thing had that 3-point heave not gone in. We're going to talk about that in a little while, but let's start out with the biggest upsets of the weekend. And, you talk about Fairleigh Dickinson, the 16 seed, only the second time it ever happened. Spence, a 23.5-point underdog. They went outright against number 1 Purdue. Princeton moving on, not just once, but twice. They beat Arizona, the number 2 seed, and then poor Arizona. They're like the king of the upsets on the wrong side of it. And then Princeton goes on. Tigers beat 7th-seeded Missouri. Sorry, Zach Ewing. And then 13th-seeded Furman beat Virginia in the first round before they got knocked out. Of all the upsets, what is the biggest surprise to you, Spence?
Well, I mean, I guess the Purdue one, because I had them. I'll be the one to say it. I had them going all the way. And then it's the second year in a row with them. Them and Arizona have become the poster child for getting upset early, because last year I had Arizona, I think, either winning it or runner up, and they got knocked out early. So I was like, well, I'm not going to make that mistake again. But I was like, you know what? I think Purdue's different this year. I think with that big man, they're going to be able to go really far and make a run. But no, Fairleigh Dickinson. It's just, there's something about New Jersey. It's just these small schools from New Jersey. Last year was St. Peter's, and this year Princeton and Fairleigh Dickinson. Princeton's still alive, trying to do their best St. Peter's impression by going to the Sweet 16. So we'll see how it goes. But that's, man, they call it March Madness for a reason. This is why.
Zach sent out a group text. I think it was whatever day Princeton played for. I guess it had to be Friday, about how a team from New Jersey has advanced past the first round every year for like the past however many years it was. I'm like, well, that's not going to happen this year. Well, sure enough, we were wrong.
Twice.
Happened twice. So Fairleigh Dickinson and Princeton, 2 teams from New Jersey, a 16 seed and a 15 seed. You don't expect it to happen. Well, it happened. So there was no Rutgers to advance this year. So Fairleigh Dickinson and Princeton said they did it, and Princeton going to the Sweet 16. That's kind of a surprise in itself. Jerry, our friend Jerry is hello.
How's it going, Jerry?
Is here again. Hello, fellas. We say hello to you. And if you want to make any comments or got any comments, any questions you want to spill out there, now's the time. You can get on the show here with us. We'll be on until probably about 4:30, 4:35. Look, they talk about whether brackets can be, there's no perfect brackets. I mean, but everybody's talking about brackets being busted, Spence. I'm not necessarily with that whole bracket being busted thing. Everybody's brackets took a hit. I mean, unless you lost, sorry, Spence, but unless you lost your national champion or really someone in the national championship game, or if you lost two teams in the Final Four, then maybe, yeah, you could say your bracket's busted. But if you didn't lose one of those things, you're still alive.
Yeah, I'm with Jerry on this. I might just have to. These brackets keep breaking my heart. This is my worst year yet. I lost 3 of my Final Four teams already. The only one I have left is number 2 Texas, and I mean, who knows if they're gonna move on. So it's like this is. I mean, I've had some rough years, but I'd say this is my roughest because I mean, I lost Virginia and Purdue in the first round, and then lost Kansas in the second round. So I mean, I'll still do a bracket every year just for fun, but definitely not gonna stress about it though. My main focus is gonna be, and it's gotten it, especially now that sports betting's legal here in Louisiana. Just focusing on taking it a game at a time, betting on the individual games and the bracket. I mean, it's cool and all, but it's just for fun. It's not. I mean, betting's for fun too, for the most part, but it's like it's just you don't want to. Don't let your busted bracket ruin your day because I mean over half the country is in the same boat as you.
Well, there's no doubt about it. And look, I'm lucky enough to have 3 of my Final Four alive. Both teams that I have winning and making it to the championship game. I have Alabama playing Houston. They're both in. Although Houston, I gotta say, Houston got a little bit lucky. Auburn kind of choked that one away a little bit. So, but I'm still alive there, and I'm happy about it. So my bracket. Although the first day was awful. I think I only got 8 out of 16, which is if you only get 8 out of 16, the good news is I didn't lose a lot of teams that were advancing far. So that's why my brackets are still alive. I mean, but really you got to get lucky in this thing anyway. Our poll question, it leads into, we're talking about upsets. Poll question, you can go vote on it on bet.NOLA.com. We'd love for you to go vote in our poll. Which Sweet 16 underdog is the best chance to reach the Final Four? Is it Florida Atlantic? They're only a 5-point dog against Tennessee. We're going to get to Tennessee because I don't know why people keep dissing on the Vols. I mean, they beat Duke. Mabel was all over the Blue Devils this weekend, and my second biggest bet after Gonzaga the entire weekend was Tennessee. I love going against the public. So anyway, that's my rant. I think that is a low number. I love Tennessee this weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute. Miami of Florida, just a 7-point dog against Houston, the number 1 seed. Another number 1 seed is an 8-point favorite over against 5th-seeded San Diego State. And then Princeton, who we've been talking about. Look, it's going to be tough to bet against Creighton, Spence. I think Creighton looked phenomenal. I had them going into the Elite 8, and I may have shorted them. I think they got an excellent chance to make the Final Four, the Creighton Blue Jays.
Yeah, Creighton was one thing I actually got right. I had them going to the Elite 8. Wish I would have had them going further to kind of preserve my bracket. Not that it would have been, not that I won because I mean I lost Purdue, but with Creighton, that's my best bet of the Sweet 16. Creighton minus 9.5. I mean this Princeton Cinderella run, it's coming to an end. I mean it's over this week. I mean there's no way they're gonna get past Creighton. There's just no way. I mean you can quote me.
We
on
can never say no way. I don't know anyone would say no way.
Yeah, I mean, this is March Madness. I mean, it's like, just take it for what it's worth. But I'm just saying from an odds perspective, to me, that's value. To me, 9.5, only 9.5. So Creighton should win this, I feel like, by 15. So to me, you're getting good value here. And I think they're doing that because they know the public, Princeton's a sentimental Cinderella team like St. Peter's from last year. They know the public's going to want that. So they're getting this line to where to me, it's a lot better on the Creighton side.
Well, you got into our second topic and how far can Florida Atlantic and Princeton go? And I think, look, I'm with you. I think Creighton, to me, is one of these surprise teams because if they play like they played in the second round, they can go as far as they want. They literally can beat anybody. So it wouldn't be a shock to me at all in this weird tournament. Obviously, they're in a bracket where they could go to the Final Four. And if they do, I wouldn't want to play them. I mean, I really wouldn't. I mean, I think that's a mess. I mean, that's a team that could give any team fits. And so Alabama, you better watch out. I know you're on the same side. We'll see what happens. I think they're in the same bracket with Tennessee, though, right? They would play if Tennessee and Creighton both advance, that would be the Elite Eight game, correct?
No, I think they're in the region with Alabama.
Oh, okay. So, but Alabama, I knew they were on the same side. I knew they were on the same side.
Yeah, Tennessee's on that same side.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess with Creighton, Alabama. That could be a really good game. But I don't see how it's not Creighton and Alabama. Look, San Diego State, they're a really good team. They're obviously well coached, and I wouldn't want to mess with them. But I think Alabama Creighton can be a great game. Tennessee, Michigan State, and Kansas State. You know, Michigan State's a 2-point favorite. I don't get that line either. I think K-State, I think they should be. They're the 3 seed against the 7 seed. There's some Big Ten bias going on in there. Spencer, we've been talking all weekend about how the Big Ten obviously was overrated. Indiana got smashed last night by Miami. I think Kansas State could be one of the better bets of this entire Sweet 16 round.
Yeah, I like Kansas State money line here. To me, this is an example of another public thing where, Tom Izzo's and Michigan State, super well known of blue blood, kind of like the Duke thing. It's a program everyone's familiar with, a basketball school. And a lot of times you think, oh, well, that's a safe bet, but not really, because the public overvalues these basketball schools where the books know that, and so they juice the line. So there's never any value hardly with Michigan State or Duke or North Carolina if they were in it. So yeah, K-State is very slept on, not a traditional power, but they have been one of the top teams in the Big 12 all year, right up there with Kansas, Texas, Baylor, which Kansas and Baylor are knocked out already. So like Kansas State, I think, has got a chance to go far, and I like their money line. And Tennessee, I'm not quite as high on them as you are, Jim. I think FAU might be able to pull off another upset. I don't sleep on the Owls, man. They're playing some good basketball, and Conference USA, not a great conference, but they dominated that to where they're showing that they could make a push, and I think there's a chance they might be able to go to the Final Four. I think they could be that 8-9 that reaches the Final Four. I really do.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not gonna say nothing's possible, because we see it. The 16 seed beats a 1. It happens every now and then. But to me, I just think people are sleeping on Tennessee. I said it from the beginning. I didn't understand it from the beginning, and I get they lose to Kai Ziegler, and that's a huge loss to them. And don't bet on Rick Barnes, Zach Ewing. Don't bet on Rick Barnes to go far. I mean, stop talking about Rick Barnes. I mean, it's a team that is playing good basketball. I know they struggled going into the tournaments. They lost to Kai Ziegler, but I knew that I just like their matchups, and I think that going into this whole thing, that they have a chance to make a little bit of a run. I had them in the 8. We'll see what happens. I actually think Kansas State is a sleeper for the Final Four. I don't know what their odds are to make the Final Four, but I'm going to go take a look, because I think if they're like plus 300, plus 400, I think you're getting a value, a bargain there. So that is my sleeper team to make the Final Four now. And a lot of these sites, they do redraws, so you can go back in and do a whole new bracket now with your Sweet 16. So maybe I'll take a look at that. But I like Kansas State to come out of this bracket, Spence.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Yeah, I'd say on that side, either to win that region, I'd go with either, like I say, FAU or Kansas State, and then the other side, either Alabama or Creighton.
Yeah, I think. Well, I have Alabama to win it all. I still think they're going to. We'll see how that goes. Let's go to the other side, the Midwest and the West. The Thursday games: UConn against Arkansas, as well as Arkansas played, Spence. And to me, whenever a team beats a number 1 seed, their odds are always a little bit jacked up. I think they should be more like 5.5 to 6 point favorite underdogs against UConn. To me, UConn might be the best overall team in the tournament. And the possibility of UConn, UCLA, or UConn, Gonzaga, to me is exciting, because I think that is going to end up being UConn's going to beat Arkansas. Okay, I think UConn against either one of those teams is going to be the best Elite Eight game of the tournament on Saturday.
Yeah, UConn's looking nice. I mean, it's a team that a lot of these teams they got their flaws, but UConn's a team that's I'd say it is. They look a lot stronger than Houston so far. I feel better about if I had UConn futures.
Yeah,
I feel much better about
I
that.
Wish I had them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's one that's looking pretty strong. I mean, Houston, I think they'll get past Miami, but it wouldn't shock me if they don't. I think there could be some value with Miami at +7. Texas Xavier's kind of a tough one. I actually think whoever wins out of Texas and Xavier, I think they get past Houston. I don't think Houston reaches the Final Four. I am not buying Houston. They just don't look the part. I know they've got the Kim Palm ratings and all the advanced crap says they should win it all, but I don't know. Something smells fishy about them. I'm not buying them, but we'll see.
I would not be surprised at all if they lost in that first game of the Final Four, but I would be surprised at them. I think that's actually a great bracket for them. I think Texas is overrated. Now, Xavier, you don't want to sleep on Xavier. I think that's a good dog at +4 on that side. And I'm not trying to overlook Miami, but look, Jim Larinaga has had his runs before. We talk about Rick Barnes, but I don't know. I just think that it's going to be the glass slipper is going to break there. I like Houston to make the Final Four. I'm not as high on them to get to the national championship game as I was before. And the reason being is I really think that UConn might be the best team in this tournament. And I said last week going in, we were talking about sleepers, and I think they were 22-1 to win the whole thing. I think I'm going to go put some money on UConn right now as kind of a hedge on Houston to make the championship. Because right now I have Houston. I bought them before the tournament. I bought Houston at +600, and I bought Alabama at +700, or vice versa. I think it was Houston 600 and Alabama 700. I still like Alabama. I still think they have the best chance to make the national championship game on that side. But I'm with you in the respect that I think Houston's probably a little overrated. I just think that those out of those four teams, they're the best of those four teams. But I think that either UConn, UCLA, or Gonzaga would have a great chance at beating Houston. So I'm not as high on them to make the national championship game as I was before. And I try not to overreact to one game or even two games sometime, but they have not looked good in either one of their games. They were lucky to get past Auburn, and they kind of slept through that first game as well. Spence, they didn't win that 116 matchup by a whole ton. They needed a spark at the end. So I'm with you in the Houston thing, but I still think it's going to be Alabama. And I think, again, if I had to go put money on someone else, I think it's going to be UConn on the other side. What do you think about UCLA Gonzaga? I think, even though I have Gonzaga beating UCLA in my bracket, because I do have that, from what I've seen, I really think I like UCLA in this matchup.
Yeah, this is a tough one to handicap. I feel like this is one I'll probably stay away from because I feel like it could go either way. I think Gonzaga's legit. I think they're on a mission, everyone's sleeping on them this year. They're not a number one seed like they usually are, but they're still playing good ball. I mean, that TCU team, that was a good team. That was a really good game last night. And I know the main storyline was, the backdoor cover. But, I mean, that was a competitive game pretty much the whole way. So, I think I'd lean Gonzaga, but UCLA is legit. I think that's going to be a coin flip kind of game. Actually, I think I had picked UCLA in my bracket, but I'm kind of waking up to Gonzaga.
I have Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. I said that, and I think Zach said the same thing. We talked about how, it was an interesting year because, Gonzaga wasn't as expected to go as far this year. So maybe this is the year that they do it. And to me, they're just as talented as they were when they were a 1 seed. So they're going to be a tough out. That's going to be a fun game on Thursday night. Looking forward to that one. Okay, let's move on to the Saints in the NFL. We're going to start off first with a guy that I've been bashing for a while now. And that's CJ, CD Deuce, Gardner-Johnson, not all the Saints fans, but a lot of Saints fans out there were poo-pooing the trade, and that was just such a terrible trade for the Saints, and blah, blah, blah. The dude's a bum, okay? I don't care. I know he has good game. He has good games every now and then, and nobody talks trash like CD Deuce, okay? I know some of the great plays he makes stand out, and so that's why people love him so much. I mean, they think he's great. I think he's hot garbage for about 3/5 of the plays he plays in, and 2/5 of the time he makes really good plays. So you take what you want. But the Eagles obviously didn't want him, and now he's going to the Lions. So he's going to be Spencer with his third team in 7 months. To me, that says a whole lot about this dude.
Yeah, I think he might be a little more talented, Jim, than you're giving him credit for. I know he's not an all-pro or anything, but he's a solid starter in the NFL. But I will say this, dude's his own worst enemy. I mean, he can't get out of his own way. I mean, we were in the pre-production, we were reading about him and how he had a multi-year offer on the table from the Eagles right at the start of free agency, but then as time went on, they addressed other needs to where they didn't have room for him. So then he had to settle for a freaking 1-year contract with a team that, the Lions are trending up, but I mean, who would you rather play for? Eagles or Lions? I feel like the vast majority of players would pick the Eagles. They just went to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, the dude he's an egomaniac. He's on Twitter all the time, tweeting out all this dumb stuff. He's just, he's a great trash talker. He's A+ in that regard. But as far as play on the field, he's flashy, but kind of inconsistent, like Jim was saying. He disappears on some plays, and he's just a guy that's probably going to be a journeyman the rest of his career. He's a guy he'll fire up your locker room at times, but he could also, with the Saints, I mean, he was becoming a locker room cancer, so they shipped him out and at least got something in return. I was more on the side of, they should have gotten more, but as we're seeing, I mean, the guy he's just not a steady presence. He's a fun guy to root for a few games, but then once his bad injury, then he starts pouting and I want more money, this and that. It's like, dude, you're a league average safety. I mean, just because you get a lot of interceptions, which it's flashy, but you got to be making plays consistently. Guys like,
he was a no-show in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, guys like Marcus Williams, for example, the guy everyone loved to hate. The Saints fans wanted to get rid of him and all that. He had very steady with the Ravens. It was either 5-year contract and free agency. CJGJ he's not it as far as that. He's a guy that's just 1-year rental.
Yeah, what he is. And when you know what that means? That means that next year this time we'll be able to say he's on his 4th team in 19 months because he's going to be a 1-year, get 1 year here, 1 year there, 1 year here. And you look at the odds of these teams, I agree with you. I mean, you had a chance. To me, if I'm a player and I'm getting a decent value, you might not get the best overall contract that you can get. You may say, I can make more money for 1 year with this team, or I can get 3 years at a pretty good value with a potential Super Bowl champion. I mean, nothing against the Lions. I mean, I think those are good odds at 30-1. Sure, they have a chance to get better, but the Lions have one of 3 or 4 teams that have never been to the Super Bowl. I think the Eagles have an excellent chance over the next few years to get back and win the Super Bowl, Spence. So I just, my personal thing is, I think that says a lot about you if, you're not taking the bird in the hand, the decent value, the fair contract, because I think they were offering 3 years, $21 million, and 3 years, $22 million, and he gets 1 year for $8 million with the Lions. You don't take the 3 year, $22 million with the potential Super Bowl team. Makes no sense. And for those of you out there who still think that the Saints made an awful trade, go check out Jeff Duncan on Twitter. He had a really good tweet about this earlier that kind of says why it was a good deal for the Saints to move on and why. And then also Brandon Cooks, we never even got to him. Brandon Cooks has another new team. Now he's going to the Dallas Cowboys. Another guy the Saints let go and has bounced around from team to team to team to team. Saints got a good deal for him way back when. I mean,
with the Patriots. Normally, the Patriots snooker the team they're trading with. But, the Saints, they got a first-round pick. And as we see Brandon Cooks, he's become a journeyman. I mean, he's a 1,000-yard receiver, but he's a journeyman nonetheless. Right. He's not a guy that's going to make enough of an impact like a DeAndre Hopkins or Devontae Adams. I mean, even them, they got traded to new teams, and their new teams kind of flopped. I think it just kind of goes to show that outside of franchise QBs, these aging veterans at other positions don't tend to pan out.
Yeah, well, your dad says, as we showed, It's CJ.
Yeah, big LOL for that. And that just goes to show how freaking stupid CJGJ is. I mean, he's got some talent, but he lead the Lions to their first Super
He's
Bowl.
gonna lead
Dude,
them.
you're an average at best safety. What are
He's
you
gonna
gonna? Oh,
lead 'em.
you're gonna go up in every quarterback's face like this, and that's gonna lead the Lions to the
Leading
Super
them,
Bowl.
baby.
Like,
Leading
dude,
them.
sorry, CJ. Tom Brady retired. You don't get to pick on old man Tom anymore.
Oh, Lord.
So
let's move on from. We've already wasted enough time on CD Deuce. Talk about the Saints a little bit in the NFC South futures odds. Panthers are making some moves. I've already told you, the Saints odds aren't going to go down. So if you want the Saints, you already missed the plus 130 boat. It's plus 120, and my instinct tells me that this is going to stay flat. I don't think the Saints odds are going to change one way or the other. You might as well wait now, or if you want to get them, whatever. But the odds that are going to change to me, the Panthers keep making moves. Now they got Adam Thielen too, Spence. I think the Panthers are the bargain in this thing.
Yeah, they could be, especially if whoever they draft pans out. I mean, either be Stroud or Young, I would think. If it's Anthony Richardson, well, then all bets are off because he's going to have to sit the bench probably for whoever drafts him because he's clearly not ready. But Stroud and Young, I'd say, are both ready to start week one, to where if they live up to the hype, whoever it is, probably going to be Stroud. So, I mean, I don't think they'll win the division, but the reason they could be a value, as you're saying, Jim, is their defense. They've got a lot of talent on defense. Their defense is the only defense in this division that's anywhere close to the Saints. I mean, Tampa Bay is getting up there in age, and they lost some pieces to where they're not going to have the depth that they used to. They brought back their top corner, but they lost their nickel today as Sean Murphy. Bunting. Okay, yeah, I forgot his name there. Yeah, the three deal. Yeah, kind of long name. But yeah, he's gone, and so they've just they're not going to be as good in Atlanta. That's a total rebuilding project. I mean, Caden Ellis and David Onyemata are decent pieces, but they're not going to turn that ship around in 1 year. So Saints, we know what they've got on defense. They've got the offensive pieces now with Jamal Williams and Michael Thomas back to where they can stay healthy. The offense should be good. So at plus 120, they're probably still the best price team. But yeah, Carolina could be a sleeper.
Jerry says Saints should have signed Adam Thielen, not Carolina. Jerry, I just don't think the Saints could. That's not a place I think where they could spend that kind of money. The Saints, and now, I mean, that's part of that's topic number 4 is how the Saints have done in free agency. I don't give them an A+. I give them a strong A. And Spencer, I think part of it is because they were in such salary cap hell that it was hard to get out of it. But what they've been able to do has been super impressive, in my opinion. At the same time, they still need some more work. And I get it, Jerry. I get that you want them to sign those kind of guys. But the Saints can't sign everybody. But as far as what they've been able to do, to me, Jamal Williams was priority number 1. Had to get a running back. I think they still need another one in free agency. I think they need another one in the draft. To me, they're going to need 3 solid running backs because, to me, you can't count on Alvin Kamara maybe the whole season. You have to go into the draft because I don't know if there's going to be a decision made on Kamara's suspension before then. And if you don't get one, I think you have to go with the mindset of he's going to be gone for the entire year. And if he's not, lanyap, great. But you have to, if you want to be a playoff team, you sign a Derek Carr, it means that you think you're a playoff team. You have to go into the season thinking we need to do whatever we have to do at running back. And right now, Jamal Williams is really the only one.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree that the Saints should draft one because needs some young legs in that backfield. Some young running backs. I mean, Kamara and Ingram last year. I mean, yeah, it was great in 2017, but hello, we're now 2023. It's over 5 years. Like, come on now. You got to get some fresh running backs in the fold, and Jamal Williams is nice, but even he's not a spring chicken, so definitely need to draft 1, maybe 2 running backs. And I'll go ahead as far as the Saints all season. I'll give it them a B. Not gonna go quite. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna go quite an A. The reason I'm giving them a B is because defensive line and offensive guard, to me, there's some issues there. Andres Pete, I've said it before and I'll say it again. He is not cutting it at left guard, and they didn't address that at all. Their restructured him and planned on bringing him back as a starter. I don't like that. I know they could still draft somebody to push him for that spot, and hopefully whoever they draft can take his job, because I'm sick of Andres, Pete. It's the same story with him every year. He's mediocre at best, and he's always injured. So to me, it's time to upgrade at guard. And in defensive tackle, they brought in the two guys they brought in from the Jets and the Chiefs look pretty decent, but still need to bring in at least, like you're saying about running backs, Jim, 2 or 3 more. I'd say the same with defensive tackle, because
I don't disagree with that.
They've still got some holes, but they're depending on how to, because it's still really early in the process. It's only March, so as of now, I'm going to say a B, but if they fill in the rest of the pieces of the puzzle the way I'm thinking they should, they have a chance to get to an A, and they're definitely having the best offseason out of any NFC South team, because Atlanta and Tampa are spinning their wheels, and Carolina, they made a big splash, but they get mortgage their future as a result.
Well, the thing for me is, considering that where they were just a week and a half ago, before the deadline, before the cap deadline, and they were like $40 million over, and they've shifted things around. They're able to get their franchise quarterback. I don't care what you say, Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback, and that's what he is. They're able to bring Mike Thomas back in the fold, because I think, look, again, I know he has to prove it, and he has a ways to go to prove it, but I think he could have, and I thought this last year, so I could be wrong again, but I really think Michael Thomas could play a key role, and now he's a number 2 receiver to Chris Olave. So I think there are major reasons why the Saints could be a big factor. There's a reason why the odds makers have them the favorite in the NFC South. I think they should be the favorite in the NFC South. So, look, it's going to be an interesting couple months going forward and with the draft. But I agree with you, and the only thing I would push back on a little bit is with defensive tackle, and I've said this before, I do think they need some more, but to me, defensive tackles are a dime a dozen. They're one of the easiest spots on a roster to fill, because to me, except for the top tier, the top 6 or 8, they're all the same. They're really close to the same. So I think you go from 8 to 60, and there's not that big of a drop-off. I think the Saints will fill that position there, and they knew that going in. And so they filled with 2 guys, to me, who are similar to the ones that they lost. David Onyemata thinks he's going to get paid big after this year. He goes to the Falcons on a 1-year deal. Good luck with that, David Onyemata, because I don't think that's the case. We'll see. All right, before we get to our rants, I don't want to ignore the fact that the LSU women are playing in the Sweet 16. The first time since 2014. Kim Mulkey, to me, LSU has played over the course of these first 2 games in the tournament as well as they've played since probably the last 2 months. Because we've been talking about, the Tigers and how they have kind of, to me, been living on the edge. They lost to Tennessee, but that wasn't as big of a deal to me as playing some other teams tight. Now we're seeing 8th-seeded Ole Miss beating Stanford. Maybe the SEC is just that damn good, Spence. But to me, LSU is playing like a team that could make the Final Four right now.
Yeah, I got to catch some of that game last night, and LSU really looked the part. Angel Reese, whoo, man, she is
25
beast.
points, 24 rebounds.
Yeah, she just dominated, and I know it's going to be tougher as it goes on, but I mean, shoot, I think, I know the odds aren't out yet, but I think I might have to bet on LSU. I normally don't bet on women's hoops, but I mean, there's some values to be had, though. I mean, it's values to be had,
Absolutely.
And it's pretty interesting. It's a little different style. It's more like defensive based, but they go hard. It's pretty interesting to watch, and Kim Mulkey's passion makes LSU fun to root for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? I said their advantage, and the reason why I thought they could make a little bit of a run is that, but I didn't know how far it would go. I didn't know if it could go to the Final Four. But you can't count out Kim Mulkey because of the experience that she's had coaching and her rubbing off on these players. And then you have an All-American and Angel Reese, who showed why she was an All-American. She had 10 rebounds in the first quarter. And if you don't watch women's basketball, that's how they do it in college, women's college basketball. They play quarters. They play 4 8-minute quarters, or 4 10-minute quarters. I'm sorry, 4 10-minute quarters. But to have 10 rebounds in the first quarter, that's insane. I mean, and I watched one play she had where she missed a layup. She gets her own rebound, missed a layup, gets her own rebound, does this 4 times in one play. She just can't be stopped around the basket. So unless they come up and play a team that doesn't have somebody that's you can't be equal to her, but that's even close to her on the inside, teams are going to have a tough time beating LSU. So fun to watch. Let's see what happens to the Tigers going forward. They play Utah on Friday. We'll find out a time for you. On the Thursday show, we'll have not only a time, but we'll have the odds, and Zach and I will tell you, give our prediction on the game. A lot of other things going on Thursday on Bayou Bets as well. Time for our rants as we close out the show. Spencer, I'm going to let you go first, and I couldn't agree with you more. I'm just going to say that. Go ahead. Stop blaming those athletes when you lose your bets.
100%. And last night was the perfect example of that because of the late TCU Gonzaga game. TCU, they hit the 3 with less than a second to go, which didn't really have an outcome on the game itself, but boy, did it have an outcome on the betting line because most books had it Gonzaga -4.5. So they're up by 6, and then TCU hits the 3, only win by 3. So boom, swings a bunch of tickets there. And so, okay, you're upset at your bet lost. I get it. I mean, it's frustrating. You had the thing won. You had it in hand. I mean, that's about as bad of a beat as you can get. We talk about bad beats. It's awful. I feel your pain, but stop blaming these athletes for the outcome of this stuff. I mean, they have people blasting the TCU guys like, oh, he shouldn't have even shot that. He was just doing that so they could cover. Oh, blah, 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 blah. There's all this saying just, oh, it's sick. I mean, it's just one thing to be passionate, but I mean, it's getting to where it's degenerates. They're taking it to a new level of sicko-ness, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know. I'm just tired of seeing it. I mean, it's one thing to get upset, but to have it get to where you're just literally taking time out of your day to tag these athletes on Twitter or Instagram, whatever social media you use, and hate on them, it's pitiful. Because, I mean, like dude said for TCU, I play till the final buzzer, and that's how all athletes should be. I don't care about your bets, and it's true. I mean, these guys don't care about the point spread, because if they did, well, we'd have manipulation. So let's be glad that these guys don't give a crap about your bets. So stop pointing the finger at them every time you lose.
Well, look, that shot hurt me as much as it hurt a lot of people. Now, I had 3 bets across 3 different platforms on Gonzaga last night. That shot, and like when the kid made the free throw on the other side, I'm like, all right, it's over. And it just goes to remind you that it's never over unless it's really over. And as soon as he started rolling the ball like that and they let him get into the front court, I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no. But again, I'm not blaming the athlete. If I'm the kid, I'm going to hit the shot too if I can. You should. That's what you're supposed to do. So I agree with you 100%. I'm going to go one further for you. I've seen some things, and we knew this was coming with the advent of legalized betting, right? It's becoming more and more prevalent. A lot of these people only have like $5 and $10 on stuff, and they're getting all pissed off for $5 and $10. I mean, Zach Ewing is crying over a $22 loss. I mean, he's like, throwing stuff. Get out of here. I don't care if you lose $20. Quit crying about $20, especially you just won $100,000, Zach Ewing. All right, but here's my thing is when people get mad at the prognosticators. There's this one guy I follow really just because I like to laugh at him. This guy, and I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want people to go follow him willy-nilly. But there's a guy I follow, and he goes on these super hot streaks, and he wins like 8, 9, 10 games in a row. He'll go a whole day without losing anything with all these bets, and then the next day he comes out, and he's like, up, all right, we're going to go 3, 4, 5 dimes today is this thing. He's going to build your bankroll. And then he'll lose his ass. And so people will get on him. I mean, but they're mad, not like making fun of him. They'll get like mad at him. I'm like, you're the one that goes in and hits the bet this. You don't have to bet any of these things. It's the same for us. If we give you our suggestions and tips, I mean, I don't need to hear that, and I don't hear it a lot. So it's not that big of a deal for me. But, you cost me no, you cost yourself. You were the one that hit the button. So no matter what we say or what a player does or anything, I'm with you, Spencer. You're the one that hits the bet button. Don't blame anyone else but yourself, because you're the one that controls how much you bet, when you bet. Be responsible, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, I feel like we have to say the same thing every year. It's like people they never learn, but that's a part of fun of it. It's like, it's kind of, I feel like at least the people that have been doing it, it's more the new batters we're getting on, like people that know what's up. I mean, they know that you can't win every bet and stuff, and it's just, if you're new to betting, just take some time, keep up with our content, do some research. Believe it, just 5 minutes of research before a game can go a long way. You don't have to spend much time. If you're gonna spend 3 hours watching the game, you can do a little bit of 5 minutes worth of research before you put money on it, because it's just,
and be realistic. That's the thing more than anyone. But again, the bottom line is, stop blaming anyone but yourself. You're the one that hit the button. All right. My rant of the day is, interestingly enough, we had a group text going out, and I said I had sensory overload yesterday. There were all these basketball, NCAA tournament games on. There was the World Baseball Classic, which we've never even really got a chance to talk about today. There was LSU women were on. And golf earlier in the day until about 5 o'clock. I had
NASCAR.
I had golf going on. You got NASCAR going. All these things going on. The one thing that I didn't watch a second of, the New Orleans Pelicans. I mean, look, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I mean, I want the home team to make it happen. I want them to have this run. I want them to go and make April exciting and maybe into May. But how can anyone think it's possibly going to happen? When you lost Friday on the road at Houston against a team you have no business losing to. Now, you come back last night and win. Good for you. And I did look at the scores to see what was going on. And I did look at the box score afterwards. So if I have to talk about it, I can understand it. But the New Orleans Pelicans are no longer compelling. And unless they win, like going a little mini run here, they've kind of lost me, Spence. I don't know how long I can care or invest the time. I'm certainly not investing any money in them. And there's just too much other good stuff going on right now to even care about the New Orleans Pelicans. I hate to say that.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I get it. They've been struggling. It's tough, and someone's kind of down, it's tough to, but especially when they've just not only been, it's like a collapse. I mean, it's been an epic
that's exactly
collapse.
What it is.
So the only thing I will say, though, to kind of push back on that is that, I mean, we have, New Orleans prides itself. Oh, we have 2 professional sports teams. We're not just a football city. We're also a basketball city. Well, that means you have to support your teams through thick and thin, including the Pelicans. I mean, the Saints, the Saints have been around since 1967. They're not going anywhere. But the Pelicans are, haven't been around all that long compared to the Saints, where it's easy for people to just be like, well, they suck. I don't care about them. It's like, well, I mean, if it's truly your team, if this is New Orleans, NBA professional basketball team, you've still got to support them even during these rough times. So definitely not turning a blind eye to the Pels. I know they've been struggling, but gotta hang in there. New Orleans can't give up on the boys.
Well, I'll still watch them, but I don't have a lot of faith in them. I'll just say that. So, well, we have had a fun show today, and we didn't miss Zach Ewing at all. I mean, we were just fine without him, Spence. Maybe you should.
We survived. We survived.
we did okay. I think we
survived
did okay.
And thrived.
Yeah. All right. Well, your dad says real quick before we go off the air, bet for entertainment, not expecting to make a bunch of money. That is most certainly the truth. All right, we have had a fun show. We're going to be back on Thursday with Bayou Bets. Zach and I will be talking about NCAA tournament. We'll probably be talking a little bit about golf. The match play championships are this weekend. That actually starts on Wednesday. We might have a little something out on that if we get a chance to. So that's going to be fun. The Masters are coming up real soon as far as golf goes. Look, Final Four, both the men's and the women's Final Four are driving distance away if you want to think about going. The women are playing in Dallas. The men are playing in Houston. Weekend after this coming weekend might not be a bad road trip. I know fantasy baseball drafts are coming up. We got all kinds of things to talk about.
Yeah, fantasy roundup tomorrow.
There you go. Fantasy roundup tomorrow. Again, I know a lot of you have fantasy drafts coming up. Now's the time to watch Spencer. He talks about doing his research. He's certainly done his. And we will see you on Thursday for Bayou Bets tomorrow, Fantasy Roundup. Everybody have a great week. Enjoy the last little bit of cool breeze because warm weather is coming real soon. Some of you like it. I don't. Let's enjoy it. It is now officially spring. We'll talk to you on Thursday. See you later, everybody.